Hello once again, YouTube. Major Tom 2417 here, with Day 7 of SpoopTober 2025 Arcade of Evil. And this is Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge, a fighting game that owes quite a lot to the likes of Hammer Horror, Universal Horror, and possibly even Val Luton. You'll see what I mean, hopefully. And just to start things off, we have the Frankensteinian construct, Victor von Gerdenheim, versus the vampire Dmitri Maximov. The latter of whom just won. And Dmitri is the Shoto clone, or Ryu and Ken style fighter of the series. And the closest Hammer Horror or Universal Horror came to the character of Xian Ko here, the Jiangshi or Chinese hopping vampire, would be Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires from Hammer Films, in which Dracula was no longer played by Christopher Lee but by John Forbes Robertson, Christopher Lee's longtime stand-in. And apparently I can just mash low punch or low kick and win. So that's how I beat Victor in the second round. Look at that! Look at it! Anyway, Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires was probably the least well-regarded of the Hammer vampire films, or Hammer Dracula films, because it threw off the chronology of the rest of the series. It did have Peter Cushing as Van Helsing, but again, it didn't fit anywhere chronologically with the rest of the films. So, yeah. It was a joint production between Hammer Films and the Shaw Brothers, very well known for kung fu films. So, yeah. Now, funny enough, Hammer Films did have a film based on the Abominable Snowman, or Sasquatch as he's known here. But it wasn't really a part of the Hammer horror cycle because it came before their Dracula film, their Frankenstein film. It did have Peter Cushing in it. So it's kind of like the prototype of the Hammer horror films that would come later. Although the first real Hammer horror was the Quatermass Experiment, with the E shorn off of experiment to signify the film's X certificate. So, yeah. Also, apparently, mashing low punch and low kick, if I haven't made that clear already, seem to just completely overwhelm the opponent's defenses and ruin them, unless they block. So, I did skip the fight with Bishamon because, and yes, I know there are Japanese horror films that focus on the era of the samurai and stuff, but I don't remember who directed the two that Dark Corners Reviews did reviews of, and yeah. I don't really know what horror franchise or staple Morrigan has ties to from Universal or Hammer, but I figured that she's iconic enough for the series that to skip her fight would be a travesty. So, even though she's using the wrong palette for this fight. Victory is mine. There was a comeback game in the Darkstalkers series a few years ago. I forget when exactly, but it wasn't well received. Either it wasn't well received or it didn't sell enough to keep the franchise going. So, either way, that sucks. Haha, sucks because I'm playing a vampire. Haha, funny puns. Whatever. Now here's a monster with a very long pedigree with both Hammer and Universal. The Mummy. In this case, Anacharis. Which is funny because the Mummy in the post-Karloff Universal Mummy films was called Charis. And I believe the Hammer Mummy also had a similar name. Well, the first one, played by Christopher Lee. The ones after were different. And then, of course, there was the attempt at starting the Dark Universe from Universal, which we all know how that one turned out. So, yeah. In the original take of this video, this was the final fight of the video. But I figured it would be nice to stretch things out a little bit, see if I can encounter more of the classic Universal monsters as depicted in here. Like the werewolf, John Talbane. Leaving that in. Or the gill-men Rikuo, I forget how to pronounce his name. And funny enough, the next opponent is Rikuo, the analog to the creature from the Black Lagoon. Did he just turn into a seahorse? Yes, he did. I forget how many Creature of the Black Lagoon films there were. At least 3. Possibly 4. Leaving that in. Perfect round from a slap fight. Wonderful. Although not the kind of slap fighting they did on that TBS show that came after AEW Dynamite for a while. So yeah. So I mentioned Val Luton at the start of the video. Here's why. Felicia, probably not a direct reference to Curse of the Cat People, but you never know. One of the more well-known characters from the franchise. She had a guest appearance in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I think she was in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And she also has that incredibly useful light kick. And what good would a Monster Mash fighting game like this be without a werewolf? In this case, John Talbane, whose name is very likely a reference to Lon Chaney Jr. playing Larry Talbot. the Wolfman of Universal's films, none of which after the first were a solo film for the Wolfman. House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula, even Abbott and Costello meet. Was it Frankenstein they met in the title? All three of them were in the film, the Wolfman, Frankenstein, and Dracula, played for the second and last time on film by Bela Lugosi. So, yeah. And in this case, our werewolf, John Talbane, is also a martial artist. Yes, he whips out nunchucks. So, yeah. Rare to see that kind of fighting in a Universal monster film. Also, weirdly, the original Wolfman never mauled anyone. He always strangled his victims. In that Lon Chaney film. Or Lon Chaney Jr. film, I should say. And, of course, we can't go without a zombie, can we? In this case, Lord Raptor, whose knee pad changes into a chainsaw with the right move. And who can apparently summon a sword of sorts out of his shin. Or are those his toenails forming one solid blade? That was the knee pad chainsaw. And yeah, our ubiquitous zombie wins. So I think this is going to be it for this video. Thank you all so very much for liking, watching, commenting, and subscribing. I hope you've been enjoying SpoopTober 2025 thus far, all the entries that have been uploaded, and all those that have yet to be uploaded as well. I hope you will enjoy those, I should say. So, Major Tom 2417, once again thanking you all so very much for liking, watching, commenting, and subscribing, and signing out.